why, but I was always under the impression that Bruce was the one to fire Dick every single time. No, most of the time Dick is actually the one to leave Bruce.
The game's over, Batman. I quit.
But regardless of how it happened, the outcomes are always identical. It's moving out, it's painful, it's misunderstandings, it's grief, and it's just a lot of angst for everyone involved. I never really liked this outcome because honestly, I think only the writers benefited from this plot point. But I understand that it has a very big impact on the plot. So I got to wondering, I got to pondering, I got to thinking, what other outcomes to this break could have happened that could have had an equally interesting impact on the plot? What other outcomes could satisfy more than just the DC writers? Well, in this video, I will propose seven different outcomes that will best suit 7 different POVs, and one that best suits Bruce Dick's father-son fanatics at the very end. So stay tuned for that too. And just before I get into it, hi, I'm Nausea. I use psychology and humor to discuss fiction. If you like this video on my channel, please engage with it in any way you want. Subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do, so that the YouTube algorithm doesn't toss me aside like a used tampon. So 7 + 1 outcomes that follow up how Bruce and Dick initially split. I've ordered this list from worst to best in my opinion. So let's just jump into it so you can kind of get what I'm saying, because I'm making this sound more complicated than it is. Starting off with the best outcome for the Rogues, and this is my least favorite. I don't want this to happen, but the best outcome for them would be for Dick to become their puppet. Well, how does this happen? Well, let's dub this Universe 7, shall we? In Universe 7, Dick runs away after he quits from being Robin and working with Bruce. Dick is too confident to rely on Batman or Batman's methods or ideas, but too upset to rely on his friends, which he usually does in these situations, and too upset to leave Gotham. He's on the street, or he's got in a hotel room or something that's untraceable for him, and eventually he notices a villain or two, or any rogue really, doing their ish. He confronts the villain on his own and eventually gets snatched or nabbed, and this time with nobody there ready to watch his back, he gets tortured or he gets mind controlled. Something goes incredibly wrong. Dick is emotionally compromised, Bruce is emotionally compromised. Nobody's expecting Robin to be this random civilian who's just not even dressed in the outfit, and so nobody comes for him, and he doesn't have the backup he needs. And it's an immediate kind of showing that I'm sure the writers would love to do, of how Dick alone, without any preparation or any help, is helpless. Or you could, like I said, be working for Mad Hatter for a while, have a whole experience like a memory loss kind of incident that wasn't Rick Grayson. That could be interesting. Obviously we don't know how long this would last. I'm sure at some point Dick would escape and Bruce would find him, something like that. But at this point it would just be the idea that, or it would be discussing the idea of rationality and being clear-minded and level-headed, and kind of play on the point that Dick running away from home really was rash. This could have been an outcome, and then it could have been a more angsty one, but it would have also kind of brought them back together. I think it would have put Dick through a lot of stress and angst and sadness, but it would remind him that he needs to not be completely independent, same way that Bruce cannot be completely independent. And if he wants to really go down this vigilante route, he would have to confront the fact that he needs to craft carefully a new identity. He needs to be someone else without being Robin, because evidently when he's not Robin, he's nothing. And that would transition to him becoming Nightwing. So yeah, that's my least favorite one, but I think it's interesting. I think it still gets us back to where we need, spares us some angst, gives us some extra angst at the same time, and it would be great because you could also argue that it would make one of the villains more special, give one of them more of a incident, because you know a lot of villains in Gotham have a lot of impact. So you know Joker has the Killing Joke, and Jason, and Bane has Nightfall, and Riddler has, is it Year One or something, or and Hush he has as well, and like other things. And so this would give a Gotham villain that is not necessarily looked or talked about as much a bit more notoriety, like Mad Hatter. Hatter. If Mad Hatter did this, for instance, then we could actually get Mad Hatter seeming more like a scary villain who has actually had an impact on the story. So yeah, has a lot of benefits, but not loving it because it adds so much angst and it's unnecessary and it will play into another villain's hand. So I don't know. Next, number 6 in Universe 6, because Universe 7 is a bit darker. Universe 6 is slightly lighter, even though it's not really great at all. The only reason I even like it slightly more is because of the villain in question that is going to be doing something very similar. It's Slade. Of course it's Slade. It is Wilson. I really do like Slade Wilson as a villain for Dick, because I really think he mirrors so much of what makes Dick so enjoyable to watch and so likable as a person. And so I think that having a best outcome for him was necessary to distinguish between the Gotham rogues, because Slade doesn't want Dick to just be a mindless puppet. Slade has wanted for a while, in different iterations, at least what I've seen, for Dick to be his apprentice. So it's the same premise. Dick's running away. He's too confident to get the help from Batman, and he is too confident to go to his friends. So in this case, maybe he goes a bit further. He flies out to wherever Slade is, I don't know, New York, whatever, and he sees Slade doing his ish, but he has no backup and he has no Robin suit. But Slade, when fighting him, recognizes his skills and kidnaps him and turns him into his apprentice. Dick, while trying to wait it out and escape from this hell he's in with no real equipment and no real backup coming, learns to kill, is forced to kill, and has to wait it out. This is obviously still not a great outcome for Dick. I can imagine afterwards he would escape, similar thing. He would maybe not necessarily go back, because I think him being outside of Gotham would contribute a bit more to him trying to be more independent, but he would definitely reunite and have a big reunion with Bruce. And so in this case though, a lot of that childish teenage angst and or just the general human condition of being a teenager is gone, because Dick is again forced to mature. So when they reunite eventually at some point, maybe Dick moves to Bloodhaven after that and he makes a name for himself and he finds him from that, then they'll reunite and they'll talk to each other and it'll be more serious and it'll be more solemn, because they'll realize how much they needed each other a bit easier, especially with what Dick went through. And I think that it would still have the nice transition to Nightwing. It's just a lot of more angst and a lot more of line crossing, because at least with the Mad Hatter, you know, I was mind controlled. I was broken mentally. With Slade, I think a lot of it would be a bit more than that. Like, he would start to get used to him. He would start to do it because it felt right. And so maybe Dick would suddenly feel like an actual killer, whereas before it'd be like, oh, I was forced into killing. This is like, oh, maybe I am a killer, because it wasn't that difficult. A bit more League of Assassins. So yeah, Universe 7, best outcome for the Gotham villains. Universe 6, best outcome for Slade. So what's Universe 5? Well, Universe 5 is the best outcome for Child Protective Services. So this is my number 5. It's not my favorite by any means, but it's a bit better in my heart as well. And this one is simply that when Dick quits or is fired, but likely quits, because that's usually what happens, he is underage still and they nab him. Child Protective Services are able somehow find him and get him. Maybe it's Jim, maybe Bruce is like, hey, he ran away, I think it's time for him to just move on. I think we need to stop this and break our relationship, and then he gets Commissioner Gordon to track him down, something like that. Or he voluntarily goes to Child Protective Services because he needs a guardian. That's another way it could happen. Somehow this Child Protective Services placement actually is good for him. It has a positive impact, and it turns his idea of, okay, I can't work with you anymore, to maybe I shouldn't be a hero after all. Maybe he learns a big lesson while he's housed there, and he decides that heroism might not be for him, and that he wants to work a bit more on the ground, and that he's done his part for the time being. So he wasn't just quitting being Robin, but everything all together. This is of course the best outcome for CPS, Child Protective Services, or GCPS, and it's not necessarily the best outcome for plot, but it is an interesting plot point, and so it's still him. It's also still my number 5 and above the other two, because even though we lose Dick Grayson as a hero for this time being, what it gives is development, it gives character, it gives healing, because I'm sure that during this time he might even consider going to therapy, and if you know me, you know that my therapy for the Bat family is my favorite tag. I mean, jeez, me and that therapy tag, we eye each other every day. I'm like, I need you in my life. I like that idea. So we have that aspect to be happy about with this situation. We also have the idea, which is kind of fun, that maybe he meets Jason during this time, or right after this time, when he's more in the poorer side, maybe not the poorer side, but he's more in the more chill side of Gotham. He's actually in Gotham, living in Gotham for a little period of time. I'm not necessarily saying that he cuts Bruce off. I'm more saying that he has a whole coming of age thing by himself when he's with another Guardian. I don't even think he would love the Guardian the same way. I think that whoever he's with, that CPS has assigned him to, it would really have an impact on his character, and maybe he quits superheroism but then comes back to it as backup when maybe Jason is there or something, you know, and he comes up with Nightwing or something. But I think that this is, even though it's hugely detrimental to the idea of creating a Nightwing, it is a nice plot point and nice outcome for the character Dick Grayson. That's Universe 5. Universe 4, a little bit better in as a whole. So it's the best outcome for the Titans. So the Titans want Dick to be their leader 100%. They want him all in. They acknowledge that he likes and is happy with Bruce, but ideally they would obviously want him to give their 100% to them, because that is their only, I mean, not their only team, but their main team. It's the big team. In this scenario, Dick runs away and moves in with the Titans, so he actually does listen to his ideas in his head that suggest, oh hey, maybe you should, like, you know, confide in your friends, because doing anything else is kind of dangerous. And he ends up staying and living at whatever their base is, so Titans Tower, the Young Justice Cave, or whatever it was. Cuts ties with Gotham and he focuses on his life with them. Of course, he probably gets even deeper in love with Starfire, assuming he's not in Gotham. Maybe has a child. Oh my gosh, so much can happen. He has deep relationships with all the friends he has, and he's kind of distant to the point where it's like, oh, do you even know if Batman's alive? That kind of thing. He has barely any public appearances if he can help it. He's generally not really going anywhere outside of the tower if he doesn't have to, and he can just be a part of the team permanently, and it encourages the others to do the same, and they become this one big happy family. Q, it's the best outcome for the Titans and the best outcome for the group. It's my fourth, definitely not a fave, but I think it is good for the character. You know, it's another one. Having the Titans is like having another family that can actually give him the emotional support that he needs. I think having a parental figure like Bruce, even if Bruce has a lot of faults, is better, because having mixed social relationships is always better. But having the Titans is still good enough because he loves them, and he also has Corey, who would be his relationship. So he has a romantic relationship, he has a platonic relationship, he's just missing his familial relationships, but he's been an orphan since he was young. So I think that this can work as well, and so I do like this outcome. I think it is interesting as well. It hurts. I mean, listen, I would never want him to cut ties, because, you know, the whole choice of choose Titans, choose me, because Bruce is insecure, is tough, and I get it. But in the case that Bruce just pushed him, and then let's say Dick really did just choose the Titans, then that would be the best outcome for them, and they would still be a great group. It's just Bruce and Dick's relationship would be very distant, and let's say that in the case of the other members of the family came, Dick would just not help out, and perhaps if Dick didn't help out, things would be different. Who knows? Probably in a bad way, but you know, who knows? It would be the Bats in Gotham and Nightwing in the Titans. There would be no crossover. Now we're getting into my top 3. I hope I've been faithful to the premise. I don't know I don't even know if you like this video. I'm trying, okay? Please tell me if you do, because it's just, It's so random. I don't know what. I just have ideas and I just want to share them. Okay, so please. So this is in Universe 3. It's the best outcome for Alfred. So what would it be in a summary in quick words? Well, Dick would quit vigilantism and he would be adopted. That's the best outcome. So run that down. Dick would not run away. First and foremost, that's the big difference we're starting to see here. Dick wouldn't actually run away. He would stay, but he would go upstairs to the manor. In this scenario, Bruce would take a breather. He would speak to the people most important to him, and he would prepare adoption papers that he probably already had. He apologizes for what happens. He offers adoption. He convinces Dick to quit or pause being Robin and go to university. And try it. You know, he's just like, just try it. All right, I think we need a break. You need a break for sure. And you could try changing and upskilling yourself just for a bit. Dick, after a lot of pressing, agrees. He gets his degree and he works in gymnastics or business or something that he ends up loving. So I don't think business, because I don't think he actually likes that, but something that he actually is like, oh, I love this degree or this career or something. And he ends up staying in the manor well into his 20s, like most people in this day and age. Hello, it's me. I self-reported just now. This outcome is really good for Alfred. It means that one, Dick has future prep planning. He has a career he actually loves, because Alfred apparently disobeyed his parents to become an actor, so he really cares about people doing things that they love, and he wants that for his grandson. Also, that Dick is safe, you know, that Dick is not going out every night and decides to apply himself in a different way that's much more healthier and not dangerous to help people. Would fantastic for Alfred. That's all he wants. And the fact that he is also just at the manor and has his presence be constant and he hasn't left and he hasn't, you know, broken off from the family is something that Alfred would love, so that he can keep taking care of Dick for as long as physically possible. I think it would encourage Dick to maybe go to therapy as well. Like maybe he would want to go and heal at some point during this, you know, during the university years. He takes 3 years and he's not really doing too much vigilante work. Then in that scenario, in that time, kind of never really thinks of Nightwing. Instead, he thinks of, how else can I help people? You know, what else can I do to make myself happy? And how else can I socialize? Maybe he meets someone there and, you know, he has a different perspective on life. And so it's likely he'll see a counselor, something as well, because his coping mechanism is just gone, right? The penultimate one is the best outcome for Dick himself. Yeah, because I'm insane. I don't actually think what would be the best outcome in Dick's mind and in Dick's POV would be the best outcome in terms of this list. I don't, but I think it's very, very close. So just to clarify, it's the same as Universe 3, except it has compromises, like a bunch more compromises. You'll see what I mean as I explain. Let me just get into it, okay? So it starts with Dick leaving and going upstairs to the manor. This situation, Bruce finds him immediately, so he's not left waiting and he's not misunderstanding what's going on. Bruce explains what his intent was, how he's feeling. He doesn't really have the filters of all of the papers and everything on him. He's just being raw, because that's what Dick really wants ultimately. So Dick reciprocates that. They both explain how they're feeling about everything, and they come to the conclusion that 1, apologies are in order. 2, maybe I should adopt you. You know, maybe Bruce should be adopting Dick. Maybe that's what Dick actually wants to feel stable in the house. And 3, that Bruce should allow Dick to be Robin full time. Bruce agrees to be positive, and Dick enjoys it for a long time, maybe until he's like 24, something like that, until he reaches some kind of cap. And so maybe just before Jason dies, or when Jason comes or something, he decides that he's gonna move out to Bloodhaven. He's gonna make his own name out of thin air. You know, he's going to become a hero out of thin air, and he's going to be happy, you know, be happier. He's gonna come home more frequently. He's gonna have that family there, but he's also gonna have his own independence, and he's gonna do this full time. So on the surface level, maybe it sounds like to you they're not similar at all, but really what's similar is the fact that Dick is home for a longer time. Dick is coming home for a long time. He has a better, much better relationship with the family than in comparison to the previous ones. He's also been adopted. He's also been doing something he loves. So really the difference is about safety, because of course for Dick cares less about safety than Alfred would, for instance, and also about Dick having that future education and that career built up. So he doesn't have that, but what he does have is passion, and what he does have is stability and good connection with his family. And so I truly think that this is ideally what Dick would have wanted, to be able to do Robin until he feels like he needs to quit, like that he just needs it to finish, not because of Bruce, because a lot of the reason he was quitting was because of Bruce. I think truly if he was left with the freedom and he felt like Bruce was listening to him and Bruce was adjusting to him growing up, then they would have been together for longer, like I said, until maybe he was 24 or something, or 23. And I think that would have been much more valuable, much more good for Dick's overall psyche and psychological health and happiness, even though of course that it is detrimental at the same time, because being Robin is detrimental. But to be able to explore yourself and to understand yourself and what you want from life in the safety of your family is unbeatable. And so that's what I think that would benefit Dick the most. And now we have the last outcome before I tell you the outcome that I personally think would be best for me, because I just feel like I also have a horse in this race. So the last outcome, before I get into the one that's best for me, out of the 7, we've had the Gotham Rose, we've had for Slade, we've had for CPS, we've had for the Titans, we've had for Alfred, we've had for Dick. So there's one more. I'm sure you know, because obviously literally I've been holding him the whole time. It's Bruce. So what is the best outcome for Bruce? I will dub this Universe 1, even though I feel like that kind of sounds like the original universe, but Universe 1, the best outcome for Bruce Wayne in this situation. Well, very similar as well to Dick's, but it's different again. We start with Dick going upstairs, going to the manor this time, not running outside of the house again, because no one wants that really. And in this case, like with Alfred's one, Bruce takes a breather. He talks to different people he really cares about and needs advice from, and he gets his adoption papers ready. He apologizes, he offers adoption, and he convinces Dick somehow to be Robin with him on the weekends while they sort this out. And so he can be Robin with whoever he wants and do other things during the week, but on the weekends it's just them, and so they can minimize and better understand what's going on with this setup. Dick agrees to be safer around Bruce while being a bit more outwardly and being more risk-taking when around the Titans. So he doesn't actually have to choose, he just has to be a bit different when he's at home. And that's okay, because of course you're not going to be the same person you are with your family and your parents as you are when you're in front of your friends. It's not very frequently that happens, right? So it's okay. This Dick, who is seeing the Bruce that he loves compromise and try to adjust to him and really try to figure out what's going on and get to the bottom of why they're not getting along the best, this Dick decides that, okay, I will try and do my degree and see how that goes, and I'll try and do this. And he gets interested in volunteering and teaching as well along the side. So in the future, he does a kind of part-time thing. He's a vigilante part-time, but he's also part-time working in other scenarios, and he enjoys those because it helps the community. He's also in the public eye, and he also stays at home. Of course, he could still become Nightwing later and move out of Gotham later and the manor later, but for now in this situation he has a mixture of both. He is working, he's got a bit of a career, but he's also still being Robin, and he's happy. And this is ideal for Bruce, because Bruce wants a partner in the field who is reliable and who listens and who acknowledges that their relationship is turbulent right now, but they don't need to abandon it for the sake of this simple job, but he also wants his son to do well and be happy. So this Dick, who manages his time a bit more efficiently, half and half, while staying at home, is ideal for Bruce because he can still watch over him, but he knows that Dick is happy, you know, and that is what matters. He's also adopted in this scenario, so they'll be tied for life, and that is what makes Bruce happy, because Bruce is a bit someone who can deal with compromises and deal with things if he really feels like it's necessary. And with this whole incident, or whatever it would be, the quitting or the initial incident that sparks this outcome, Bruce would have a wake-up call and understand that he almost lost Dick. And so this is a way that everyone can be happy. Literally all three of them would be happy with this one. Especially it would serve Bruce to have somebody by his side still, and also have his son be happy, and also have his butler be happy, because Bruce at the core of it is a family man. These are lots of outcomes, and all of them satisfy more than just the writers. I like them, especially the last one, but none of these really satisfy every itch that I have, you know, for me personally, because I am a huge Bruce and Dick stan. Like, I love their relationship. I adore their relationship with each other. To me, it's magic, it's beauty, it's art, honestly. And so I thought of an outcome for people like me, you know, at the end, for me to just propose, you know, what could have happened if, when Bruce was going to fire Dick, or when Dick was about to quit, what could have happened that would have really scratched every itch we have, you know, made us happy that it happened, glad that the initial incident happened. Well, of course, they should have a talk. The job is dangerous. That's like the big problem. And so Dick and Bruce should have had this conversation about making it as safe as possible, and discussing and hashing out all of their problems and coming up with solutions, direct solutions that aren't just coping, aren't just figuring things out, and come up with every little solution that would actually have a major impact on the relationship and actually help them to heal significantly. One of these major solutions would be that Dick should take a gap year. So it's not him long term being Robin until the very end. It's not him quitting straight away and being Nightwing. He should have taken a gap year, or 2, or 3, to better figure out how much vigilante stuff he wants to do day to day, and with whom. He should get the relevant qualifications he needs to be a good upstanding citizen in society who is able to be hired and able to work, while being Nightwing or Robin or whatever it is as a side hustle. I don't even mind if he decided to change from Robin to Nightwing during that time, as long as it was kept as something that he did, but it wasn't his entire life. He should also get adopted as soon as physically possible. I don't want him to leave, but if the job made stagnating too restrictive, then by all means, Dick has to go. Everyone has to go at some point from their parents' house. But I want him to move back too. I want him to move away and then come back for long periods of time. Maybe it's Christmas period. He decides, you know what? I'm gonna spend December at the manor. Like, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna just spend December at the manor. Whether he's a police officer, whether he's a teacher, a volunteer, I don't care what it is. I want him to be able to come back and spend quality time at the manor. I don't want him to be somebody who is distant for a long time. I want him to like, you're like, damn, do you live here? I feel like I see you every other day. It's like you basically live here. I want it to kind of be like that, especially with the Zeta beams and the Zeta tubes. Depending on the universe, if you can do instantaneous travel, Dick could be there every day. That would be crazy. I think the gap year scenario, it really is a great solution for Bruce as well, because he needs to see his son and communicate with him frequently, otherwise he worries a lot. So I think that having that time dedicated to deciding what he wants to do and be able to work it out with Bruce really does give them the space, the safe space, to confront things that they weren't before without jumping ship, like is frequently written as the outcome of this incident. And it's also good for Dick, who really craves freedom but believes he wouldn't be able to get that freedom and time to choose while being at home, while being in the manor. I think that the gap years scenario is by far the best solution to Dick quitting or Batman firing Dick from being Robin. You can still get Nightwing, you can still get resolutions, but in this case the adoption is much easier. He doesn't leave home, he's much more frequently at home, and he's also working as a functional member of society rather than working 2 full-time jobs and having terrible work-life balance, because he's thought it all out during this gap year and he's taken that step away. That's not too long, but not too short, you know? So yeah, I think it's the best outcome for Dick quitting and Bruce firing Dick, but what do you think? If you like this video, then subscribe. Otherwise, let me know what you thought is the best outcome down in the comments. And then I say we can buy Johnny on. Yeah. I don't know what this was. I made a similar video on the outcomes, or like the other ways that Arkham Batman could have been killed in Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, and I don't know why I'm making these videos. I just think they need to be made. I think we need to explore other avenues, and maybe this is gonna be inspo for a fanfic. If you write a fanfic based on one of these, you better tell me. I will read it. I promise you. I promise you, please. Or if you know a fanfic that uses a similar premise, let me know. I'd be willing to check it out. I'd be willing. Yeah. Anyways, bye. You diva, you. I love you. You know that. I mean, I don't know you, but I would like to love you. You should let me love you. Let me be the one to give you everything you want and need.